Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Chicago Fire might have just ended this character's career and we don't understand why. Chicago Fire went into the episode post-mortem promising blood. It was heavily implied that 51 would be losing one of their own after a tragic accident occurs on the job. And it did, albeit not in the way we expected. Nobody died in post-mortem, contrary to its title. But we did see Jack Damon, Michael Bradway, nearly die after a building collapse left him with internal bleeding. Damon's identity is kept a secret for the majority of the episode, and even when it's confirmed that he was the firefighter who sparked the entire 51 investigation, there's uncertainty as to whether he will survive. Thankfully, he pulls through and gets through his surgery intact. It's possible that Damon will never put out another fire, which leads us to ask, what has the point of his entire season 13 arc been? Damon was introduced at the tail end of Chicago Fire's 12th season. His obsession with Kelly Severide, Taylor Kinney, was confusing, but it was eventually revealed that he was the firefighter's half-brother and wanted to get to know him better. It seemed like he was going to be around for a long time, and then he was written off the show in the 3rd episode of season 13. All kinds of crazy. Hey, we've seen new characters come and go, no big deal. Unfortunate, but no big deal. But Chicago Fire decided they wanted to bring Damon back in the episode Bar Time. Damon popped up, and he eventually made a plea to Severide to help him out with a tense situation at a nearby firehouse. Kelly Severide just that, and arranged for his little brother to return to 51. Okay, we thought. Now Damon is going to be sticking around. Things got bumpy for a little beat, and he had a detour at another firehouse, but Damon is where he belongs, and he's so committed that he actually put an end to a potential romance with medic Lizzie Novak, Jocelyn Houdin. Then, within the span of a single episode, his firefighting career has come to a halt. Chicago Fire brought Damon back just to write him off even faster than they did the first time around, and it's been baffling to watch play out. We seriously thought Damon was being positioned to assume the role that was left behind by Matt Casey, Jesse Spencer, but it looks like he may not even be here long enough to fill the Blake Gallo, Alberto Rosende role. There's a chance Damon could return. At the end of post-mortem, it's noted that he has a chance to regain his 51 position if he manages to pass various department tests. He does, however, have some pretty serious lung damage after his ordeal. We've seen a similar fate befall Jimmy Borelli, Stephen R. McQueen, when he suffered injuries on the job. We wish we had gotten a chance to see more of Damon at 51, and we hope he returns in some form in the future. We're curious how Novak is going to react when she learns what happens. If you've been watching Chicago Fire lately, you know the series has never shied away from shocking exits, emotional bet punches, or controversial character arcs. But in its most recent twist, the show may have just ended a fan-favorite character's career. And to be honest, we're left scratching our heads. We're talking about Blake Gallo, the energetic, headstrong firefighter whose passion for the job made him both a loose cannon and an undeniable asset to Firehouse 51. Let's rewind for a second. Gallo burst onto the scene a few seasons ago as a fresh-faced recruit with a tragic backstory. He quickly earned his place on Truck 81 by proving he had guts, heart, and a reckless streak that sometimes got him in trouble, but more often than not saved lives. Over the seasons, he's grown immensely, finding a pseudo-family in his crewmates, especially Ritter and Violet. And though he's made his share of mistakes, Gallo always learned from them, always bounced back. That's why this sudden derailment feels not just unfair, but out of character for both him and the show. The moment in question, an unexpected outburst on a recent call involving a high-rise rescue. Gallo, driven by instinct and fear of losing a civilian, ignored a direct order from Lieutenant Severide. Yes, that Severide, back from arson investigation land for a special appearance. Gallo chose to act on his own, climbing several floors above the designated safety line to reach a panicked teenager trapped on a narrow ledge. The rescue itself was successful, heart-pounding, cinematic, heroic. But what came after wasn't applause, it was disciplinary action. Severide, visibly shaken and clearly under pressure from upper brass, recommended a suspension pending investigation. Boden, ever the moral compass, seemed conflicted but ultimately stood by Severide. Gallo didn't argue. That's what stung the most. No fiery defense, no classic Gallo defiance, just a quiet nod and a resigned walk down the station steps, turning once to glance back at the firehouse that had become his home. And then, nothing. In the next episode, Gallo was absent. No mention. Not from Ritter, not from Violet, not even from Boden in those introspective monologues he delivers so well. It was as if Gallo had been erased overnight. His story dropped mid-sentence. Fans immediately took to social media, questioning the decision and demanding clarity. Is Gallo coming back? Was this a behind-the-scenes choice due to actor Alberto Rosen's real-life career plans? Or did Chicago Fire just write off one of its most promising characters without a proper farewell? The show has done this before, of course. Who could forget the shock of Shay's sudden death, or how Casey was quietly written out under the pretense of helping in Oregon? But those exits, while hard-hitting, made sense within the larger narrative. They served the story. This one, though, it feels like a half-thought, a red line through a character arc that was just starting to peak. And let's not forget the emotional stakes. Gallo had just begun exploring a deeper relationship with Violet after months of will they want they tension. Their chemistry had finally started to crackle again. Violet's lingering grief over Hawkins was softening, and Gallo, always patient, was there with open arms. Now that subplot has vanished too. Violet is back to business as usual, and fans are left wondering whether the showrunners even remember the groundwork they so carefully laid. There's also the issue of representation. Gallo, as a young Latino firefighter, brought much-needed diversity to a cast that sometimes skewed toward the same character types. His cultural background wasn't a gimmick, it was part of who he was. From flashbacks to his childhood trauma to his tough but loving relationship with his aunt, Gallo brought nuance and dimension to the firehouse. Losing him isn't just a blow to the team dynamic, it narrows the show's range of voices in a way that feels regressive, not progressive. Of course, there's still a sliver of hope. Maybe this is a classic Chicago Fire fake-out. Maybe Gallo is just off-screen regrouping, and we'll get a grand return complete with dramatic music and a teary reunion in the truck bay. But given the silence surrounding his exit, both within the show and in official press, it's hard not to feel like the writers have moved on without offering us, or him, any closure. Which begs the question, why? Why invest years into building Gallo up as the next generation of 51 only to cut him loose without explanation? Why tease emotional growth, romantic development, and leadership potential, then toss it all aside in a single act of insubordination? Yes, Gallo disobeyed an order, but it wasn't reckless ego, it was compassion. The kind of compassion that makes a firefighter great. The kind of compassion that Firehouse 51 used to reward, not punish. If this truly is the end of Blake Gallo, fans deserve more than a silent send-off. He deserves a real exit, one that honors his impact on the team and gives Alberto Rosen a chance to say goodbye. And if it's not the end, well, the clock is ticking. Because the longer the silence stretches, the more it feels like the fire has already gone out. Until we know for sure, we'll be watching and hoping. Because Chicago Fire may have a habit of breaking our hearts, but it also knows how to bring them back to life. Let's just pray that Gallo gets that second chance. He's earned it.